Hi and welcome to Indigo Starfire. My name is Bevin, and in this video I'm going to be doing a channeled love letter from your future spouse. There are 3 groups to choose from: Group 1, Group 2, and Group 3. So if you want to take a minute to center, focus on your breathing, and feel whichever group, maybe multiple groups or perhaps all of the groups that you're most drawn to. I'll give you a minute to make your selection and then we'll get right into it. And there are timestamps in the description box of the video for each group if you'd like to jump ahead. Hi, Group 1. You chose this letter, which I will read in just a minute. I'm going to start with some tarot and do a quick energy check as far as your future spouse is concerned, anything that's going on in their life right now that wants to come through, and then I'll read the channeled letter and follow that up with some standalone message cards. It can either reinforce what comes through in this first part of the reading or can serve as additional messages for you from your future spouse's higher self, and then I'll close the reading out with some initials. Okay, we've got the Queen of Swords, the World, the Fool, 3 of Swords, Wheel of Fortune, Nine of Cups, 6 of Cups, and the Chariot. So the phrase karmic reset is coming through with these energies here, and it feels that your future spouse at this particular point in time is becoming very proactive in cutting out connections that are low vibrational, that are clearly indicated as just reflective of like a previous cycle that they've been in their life that no longer serve them. Things that require them to kind of put on a mask or dull down their energy or just show up in a very kind of limited aspect of self. People that don't really have their priorities in alignment with your future spouse, or are even sort of involved in different kind of toxic mindsets or toxic behaviors. It feels like this is something where your future spouse has kind of started to understand, or has come to a place of understanding, that the company that they keep in a major sort of way reflects upon their energy, it reflects upon their mindset. It's almost the idea of sort of choosing to be alone rather than surrounded by people that are just very kind of limited in their mindset, negative in their kind of outlook, living in sort of a lower vibrational existence, or just have sort of put a cap on their willingness to kind of dream and expand and explore and kind of grow into a deeper potential. They may be literally relocating, getting ready to change jobs, kind of disconnecting from like certain friend circles, even kind of cutting out toxic family members, making healthier choices, it feels like, for themselves, really sort of creating almost a smaller world for themselves in terms of not spreading their energy so thin, not overcommitting themselves to things, being very certain that like anything they say yes to is in alignment with sort of their own personal truth or adds value into their world, into their existence. But in this way of kind of becoming more selective, more discerning, it feels like it's something that is actually helping to enhance your future spouse energetically speaking. They're able to focus on more long-range potentials for themselves, goals and dreams that they have, maybe working on less kind of frivolous time wasted with people that are just, again, sort of like engaged in kind of lower vibrational activities, or that are just kind of distractions, that aren't really very serious about their life, or are kind of faced in a different direction than where your future spouse is being called toward. And instead they're pouring themselves maybe into like launching a business, focusing more on work, any kind of like career changes that they want to make. That's where, and like self-improvement and an overall overall sense. Health and wellness is kind of coming through with this as well. That seems to be kind of their top priority right now, almost preparing themselves for a major up-leveling in life, where they're not just waiting for the ship to come in, they're almost kind of getting ready to swim out and meet that ship that they want to be upon, to kind of sail to another destination. They're going more than halfway in that capacity, rather than sort of standing very passively and being stuck and embroiled in cycles sort of year after year. They're taking a very proactive approach. They're no longer willing to kind of sit in the energy of like, woe is me, or when is it ever going to be my turn, or why do things never seem to work out? And they're taking what may be received as like drastic action. They may really be ruffling the feathers of people in their life, getting a lot of pushback in that capacity. Healthier choices that they're making for themselves may not be very well received or even understood. Ways in which they're making major changes in their life might also be questioned by people that they've held near and dear. But this is a sense that your future spouse is just following their heart. They're following their purpose. They're following that call from within, or the call from the higher self, maybe even for the first time in their life, setting up healthy boundaries and really choosing themselves, it feels like, at this particular point in time, which indicates a growth cycle in a positive direction, kind of the completion of some version of themselves, but then stepping immediately, instead of like going off into a void space of trying to find themselves, trying to discern and decipher what comes next. It's almost like they're simultaneously closing out a chapter and stepping into something new. So maybe they've created a new opportunity for themselves for work, something as far as career that may also involve relocation. And so they're leaving a lot of things behind, not leaving kind of loose ends hanging, but really just sort of cutting out people from their life, doing like a major sort of purge or a cleanse, or just a clearing away of belief sets, ideas, kind of connections, habits that served a previous version of them, a stagnated version, something that they've outgrown. And it's more than just I'm making changes in as far as how I'm spending my time, but it feels like also the people that they're sort of inviting into this next phase of their life, that access is becoming very limited. They've almost kind of raised the standard on who they are surrounding themselves with, who they're even maybe telling about their plans, the preparations they're making, or any kind of major sort of change and transition in their life. They're sort of keeping their own counsel at this particular point in time, which feels to be something that is aligning them more closely with a sense of sovereignty within themselves that will really benefit your marriage, in terms of this is somebody who is not just going through the motions of their life, walking in the shadow of somebody else, kind of doing necessarily what was just expected to them, or what they were conditioned to do. But this is a time period where they really have been in soul searching. They've been in some kind of period of reflection, and it's the question of what feels right for me. What is in my highest interest? Is this life that I am living really serving the best version of me? Or am I selling myself short? Am I settling in any kind of ways? And if so, what can I do in order to shake those energies off and call something better in? So it's a cultivation of a degree of autonomy that it feels like was kind of stunted or even lacking altogether in certain quadrants of your future spouse's life prior to this period of time. So it's them like deliberately turning the page in their own life, not waiting for a tower moment for things to fall apart before rebuilding, but it's almost like pushing a lot of things away and consciously choosing to step into a different reality for themselves, which it feels like empowers them to align with you and bring forth an empowered energy, a very determined energy, that they're leading a life by choice rather than kind of just what they had sort of maybe mimicked or was patterned within them, or what they'd sort of just fallen into as like an easier route, something that was comfortable, or even something that was kind of expected of them, pressure that was put upon them to be a certain way or show up in a certain manner in reality. All of that's kind of being questioned at this particular point in time, and it's like your future spouse is choosing themselves in a lot of ways for the first time ever, perhaps. So let's see what they want you to know from their higher self. Our love story at this point feels like something that is both classical, an experience of a bygone era I remember deep within my bones, and something that is so far ahead of its time it triggers me into a profound evolution. From afar, I desire you so much more with each passing day. It is a delicious agony that thrums alongside my heartbeat. My yearning for you has taken on a life of its own and compels me forth beyond the obstacles of time and space that have created a chasm between us. I am emboldened to traverse so that I can stand before you directly with all of the love I hold inside overflowing rather than restrained, given to you without condition or hesitation, so that finally our journey together can progress beyond this waiting game. I am a better person because of you, stronger in my sense of self and more determined to hold myself accountable for my shortcomings, so that with full knowledge of my flaws and virtues, I can support you and allow myself to be supported by you in such an intimate and thorough manner that our love, our bond becomes enduring, and that I can properly face the world with you, triumphant over whatever obstacles we may face as we ride the rolling waves of life together. You are my fondest wish come true. You are the greatest blessing I have been fortunate enough to receive, and I promise to cherish you forever. So let's see what else your future spouse wants you to know right now. And we have, am I good enough for you? My love for you goes so deep. I am battling my demons right now. Your words keep ringing in my head. You are the answer to my whole life. I remember you. I am taking my time. We have all the time in the world. And you are my dream come true. I am shocked at your existence. So these initials can be a first, middle, or last name, or can spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got T, R, P, Q, F, N, L, O, N, C, G, A, W, H, U, H, W, and G. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading or a personalized channeled love letter, I offer both through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and different kinds of channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dreamcatchers, and suncatchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 2. You chose this letter, which I will read in just a minute. I'm going to start with some tarot to do a quick energy check on your future spouse, see what's going on in their life right now, and then I will read the letter and follow that up with some standalone message cards that can either reinforce what comes through in the first part of the reading or can serve as additional messages for you from their higher self, and then I'll close the reading out with some initials. Okay, so we have the Three of Swords, Seven of Cups, Three of Cups, Six of Wands, the Tower, Ace of Cups, Queen of Pentacles, and the Queen of Swords. So with these energies, I'm hearing a higher standard. And so it feels to be something that your future spouse right now is starting to raise or elevate within themselves, a level of self-esteem that at one point in time had been really fractured or fragmented by the ways in which other people had kind of convinced them that they may have been the cause of a lot of their own misery, or a lot of the dissonance that may have occurred within like interpersonal relationships, family dynamics, romances. And this isn't to say that your future spouse was kind of blameless in situations, but it feels like they may have been somebody that with kind of a big heart, a very generous heart, that attracted a lot of manipulators, a lot of takers, a lot of people that did not really appreciate their value and worth in the past, and couldn't really help them to sort of see and recognize the innate value within them, like circumstances that were just sort of doomed to failure, that they may have really taken that to heart and or allowed people to kind of manipulate them and convince them that they were like the problem, that they needed to overgive or overcompensate, or that they were never going to find something good. They weren't worthy and deserving of like good experiences in life, in career, in finance, in interpersonal relationships, in love, just everything. This is somebody that almost may have had like an idea that everything they touch falls apart. And this feels to be something where they've kind of reached some sort of aspect within where they're starting to recognize that they could have been dealing with a lot of people that were just projecting their own wounding onto your future spouse, that they actually are, your future spouse is recognizing that they actually are a good person, they're a likable person, they have a lot to offer, a lot of qualities that had been overlooked or underappreciated by other people, maybe even information that's kind of come through, or ways in which they've been able to sort of look with hindsight on experiences that they've had in their life, of sort of like taking a lot of that blame and responsibility upon themselves for whatever fell apart, but they were almost like scapegoated, or they were dealing with very toxic people, very low vibrational people, to where there's almost an element here of like forgiveness, self-forgiveness, compassion for self, as opposed to just looking to sort of purely make amends with other people. There's almost the energy here of they're making amends with themselves. They're maybe holding themselves as well to a higher standard as far as new people that they're kind of allowing into their life, ways in which they may be sort of setting up boundaries or adjusting the way that they're showing up for people that kind of have more of a rooted presence within their reality. So this can be kind of like not spending as much time around toxic family members, kind of limiting social interactions with, co-workers that are maybe more sort of low vibe, or gossips, or, just are kind of not contributing anything sort of productive to their world or to their existence. Friends groups that they're kind of disconnecting with, or even a way in which they may be going through and kind of deliberately doing some sort of revising of a degree of shadow work, or almost maybe even like cord cutting, or cutting away from narratives, even from friendships that have fallen apart in their past, romances that have fallen apart in their past, where they were made to look like the bad person, the bad guy, or the bad girl. They became the villain in other people's stories, and they have taken that to heart up to this point in time, as like, well, I must just be a bad person. And it's almost like they may have started to kind of research things, maybe about like, maybe they're dealing with a lot of narcissists or toxic people. They may have started to endeavor some kind of like self-help program or process, or just different information that's kind of come to them, maybe even getting into therapy, or just kind of different ways in which they've kind of started to have a different perspective on themselves, that is allowing themselves to kind of release guilt and shame for circumstances that have happened in their past. This goes far beyond just learning to accept things they cannot change. It almost feels to be something where they may have almost kind of been in an energy of wallowing or regret over situations that had happened, that had in some way way constricted or limited their ability to kind of move forth in an open-minded capacity, or almost somebody that took on an edge of pessimism and they're kind of moving into a degree of optimism. Not like everything's doomed to failure, but with a higher awareness of self, the odds of success are even better in terms of interpersonal relationships, where they're taking their power back from situations where they may have been made to grovel. They may have been dealing with people that sort of made them contort or shrink themselves down into a limited version of themselves in order to kind of perform, in order to earn love. A lot of conditional love that they might have been dealing with in the past that in some way was a reflection of a wound within. They kind of might have also come to some sort of realization at this point, what they had equated with their type, with their standard, with people that they were resonating with, that all of this was emanating from some degree of woundedness. It's people that reflected that kind of lack mentality was what felt safe. It was what felt comfortable. And then it became a self-fulfilling prophecy, kind of like dating the same person in different bodies, having the same kind of experience of building things only to watch them tumble down, and wondering why nothing is different. There's almost something where they're holding themselves to a higher standard by pouring love and compassion into a wounded space within, no longer shaming themselves, no longer playing that role of the scapegoat willingly, no longer kind of just mimicking that in different sorts of ways, or allowing that to play out as predominantly in their life. And it feels that with that is kind of like, this is the energy of they're generating their own degree of healing. They're not waiting for someone else to come back around and say you were right. They're no longer willing to kind of give thought or energy or attention to, you know, how they are viewed by other people, or if they're kind of the villain in someone else's story. This is almost the energy of no longer kind of just accepting that role and taking it on, but really starting to almost maybe advocate for themselves outwardly, share their side of the story, you know, give a little bit of pushback in that capacity, or even internally within themselves to no longer wear that cloak, to no longer wear that costume within themselves, but to start to really see people that they've dealt with for their true colors. And it's helping to kind of, it feels like, shift the way in which they're holding themselves. They're seeing that it's not the quality of love that they have to give that's flawed. It's maybe people that they've been trying to give that to, who were dealing with a lot of unchecked shadows and flaws and sort of deficits within themselves. So it feels to be something that they're starting to build up a healthy degree of self-esteem. They're really starting to like practice and embody this energy of self-love, not just as a cliche, and not just, you know, in terms of like what it is they're choosing to invest their time and energy with, but this is almost kind of coming home to self and really maybe tapping into some degree of almost like a feminine energy within, where they're willing to nurture themselves. They're sitting with themselves in kind of that uncomfortable place, and they're telling themselves everything is okay. They're realizing that it's not from an egoic perspective if they are considering themselves to have been in the right in circumstances that played out in a very sort of unfavorable way for themselves, which it feels like is helping them to kind of soften out of a state of pessimism, move into almost this element of kind of like good things can happen. It's not too late for me to have wish fulfillment. It's not too late to kind of build in a different direction in my life, or cultivate different experiences, or magnetize new things in because of a shift. They're understanding almost that like a change in their material circumstances starts from within. And so they're starting from kind of like the ground level and working up, it feels like, and building like a healthier version of themselves. So let's see what they want you to know from their higher self. Before we met, I was disillusioned by my romantic past. I armored up with a tough facade. I made my voice and personality loud as a way to distract the world from the silent suffering that filled so many lonely nights over the years. I came to a point where I could not properly emote, and yet I could not stop the waterfall of tears from running rampant inside. When we met, I was bitter to the idea that love could be anything more than a thankless chore, an uncertain thing, a process of push and pull and constant compromises in order to build an unsteady tower that would inevitably crumble after the slightest application of pressure. The idea of love was so exhausting, and yet I was starving for an experience I wanted so much to believe existed out there that was filled with kindness, generosity, mutual respect, and understanding that I had seen others experience but which had not yet crossed my own path. You were and continue to be a godsend. You saved me from myself. You have liberated me from a pervasive sense of sorrow, and for this miraculous feat, which you effortlessly accomplished, I will be forever grateful. I feel hopeful for the first time in years. I feel my shattered past loosening its grip upon me, because these illusions are no match for the intensity of the truth of the shape of love you embody. Thank you for loving all of my pieces as I put myself back together again. So let's see what else your future spouse wants you to know right now. Okay, and they say, I've had sleepless nights caught between confusion and pain. Am I good enough for you? You feel like a warm home to me. You are my dream come true. I am shocked at your existence. Your picture brings me to tears. I would just hurt you more right now. I need to be alone. You are a diamond of immense strength and beauty. And I want to travel the world with you. So these initials can be a first, middle, or last name, or can spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got S, M, S, Y, M, J, U, K, V, X, U, V, N, I, E, F, B, G, I, D, T, A, and P. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading or a personalized channeled love letter, I offer both through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and assorted channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dreamcatchers, and suncatchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 3. You chose this letter, which I will read in just a minute. I'm going to start with some tarot to do a quick energy check as far as your future spouse is concerned, anything that wants to come through as far as what's going on in their life right now, and then I will read the letter, and then I'll get into some standalone message cards. It can either reinforce what comes through here in the first portion of the reading or can serve as additional messages for you from their higher self, and then I'll close the reading out with some initials. Okay, we have the Nine of Wands, the Knight of Swords, the High Priestess, Page of Cups, the Devil, Temperance, Wheel of Fortune, and the Five of Wands. So with these energies, I'm hearing the phrase quiet contemplation. So this may be something where your future spouse is at kind of a crossroads moment in their life where things are going well. They've built a life that in some way satisfies a lot of the requirements of goals that they'd hoped to accomplish by this point in their life. Things are moving in the direction of continued stability or a greater sense of stability, joy in terms of the people that they're surrounded with and kind of where things are headed in a long-term sense. But there's almost an element here of something is missing. There should be something more. There should be a greater degree of kind of joy or even kind of a calling, like a higher calling that might be starting to become very apparent to them, that could really signal a time where they are getting ready or they're on the precipice to walk away from a lot of things, make some sort of drastic change and shift within their world or in their reality, or even something where there could be kind of on a simpler basis, something very unexpected as far as like a series of signs and synchronicities they're noticing, inclined to follow, that may put them very directly in conjunction with you, aligning with you. If this is not already somebody who's in your life and that you're aware of, it might be that they are sort of called inside at this particular point in time as preparation in order to be given some clues that will lead them to the juncture in time where like this great love story between the two of you has the opportunity to commence. This feels to be somebody that may have also come through a period where they needed to fight through obstacles internally or externally in order to break ground into some sort of new territory, or to be able to kind of enjoy the life that they are living currently. They may have had to rebuild from the ground up in a certain capacity, and they have finally reached a place of stability. They finally reached a place where things are feeling good. There's balance in their life in a lot of ways, but it almost feels to be that there's now a sense of there should be something more. Armed with kind of the wisdom that they have of maybe experiences in their past when they were kind of impetuous or very impulsive in terms of leaps of faith, or maybe somebody who had a tendency towards self-sabotage and they've been actively working to curb that for themselves. It feels like they're very mindful before they make any shifts, before they make any changes. There's a tentativeness to this energy as well, almost kind of like trusting in the sense of the internal guidance has something to tell them. They're listening very intently to kind of what that inner monologue is saying. So maybe somebody who is in some way on a spiritual path or aligned with that, it understands kind of the way in which spirit or their guides or their ancestors, God, goddess, whatever, spirit, source consciousness, whatever it is that they resonate with, they're very aware of the way that that conversation takes place. And it's almost like they've been given a tap on the shoulder to come inside, to start to listen. They may be starting to see or sense kind of the winds of change shifting things in the direction of like opportunities that are opening up, or a need to kind of create some sort of momentum, create almost a widened space within their life in order for a different kind of blessing to come forth, that is above and beyond whatever sort of stability or success that they've created at this point in time. It's almost like the time to up level in some sort of way, and rather than it being something where they wait for the tower moment and they're having to be sort of propelled in an entirely new direction, to sort of go through lessons, go through experiences and become wiser for that. It's almost like they may have had experiences like that in the past where they didn't heed that inner advice. They ignored the signs and synchronicities. They had to learn the hard way. They took the long way home to whatever kind of the destination is, or it may be whatever they do professionally or where they're at in their life. There may have been a lot of competition. It may have been something where they've had to work very hard for a very long period of time. Maybe been a lot of sacrifices involved in order to kind of come to the place where they're at right now. And so there's a sense of almost understanding that it's kind of like it's time for something else. It's time for something more, that there's a call within them that is kind of letting them know it's the opportunity, or the stars have very much aligned for like a new series of experiences to come in, kind of like the next adventure to unfold. But it feels to be something that doesn't necessarily involve like for most people a full departure from whatever the life is that they've created, but it's almost something where there may be kind of like a quest that they set out on, or something that takes them outside of their comfort zone, something that shakes up their routine in a way, or a very like precise series of signs that lead them to an intersection where it feels like the two of you, your love story can begin. Or if they're already in your life, it's almost like it's time for you to see one another with those eyes and that awareness that like you are each other's forever person, that this is the spouse, this is the time to go beyond just sort of, you know, the friendship and love begins, or it's the time of almost like the two of you being in a place in both of your realities where you're fine on your own, but you're ready, you have something to offer to another person. Like it's time to share my life with another person. They feel to be kind of gearing up for that, and maybe even with that kind of Freudian slip that came through, although nothing is a coincidence, they might be confronting some fears about that as well, almost like the sense of, am I ready for this? Am I ready to kind of embark on that linking of my life with another person in a permanent sense? If this is somebody who's been divorced before, or was in a long-term relationship and things fell apart, there may almost be some kind of inner nudge, or like a signal within themselves that is letting them know it's time to begin again. It's time to have a different sort of experience in love and romance. Whatever didn't work out before, previous marriages, long-term relationships, it's almost like that's not the end of the road as far as the love story, the love quadrant of their life is concerned. And so it might almost be something where they're having to kind of hear out or listen to that voice of fear within that says, am I ready to do this? Am I ready to take that leap of faith with another person again? Am I ready to open myself up in that capacity to try to create forever with someone, with the understanding that I had the best of intentions in the past, or I took the steps, to enter into a marriage before and things fell apart. But this feels to be somebody that they're leaning into a place of like a growth paradigm where they're not going to let the fear hold them back. It's a sense of almost hearing what that fear has to say and then waiting for that kind of higher self-guidance, or this being very conscientious of the signs from the universe that say, this is the route to a different kind of reality. If you're choosing that path of love, and you no longer want to sort of feed into or participate in a path of fear. This may have been somebody that's been single for a while, or has kind of just really restrained themselves from kind of linking up emotionally with other people due to maybe having to heal, or just redirecting their focus on building abundance for themselves in other ways. And it's almost a sense of like, now's the time in their life where they're ready for that partnership. They're ready for that long-term commitment. They're ready for that marriage, or, that second marriage, that third marriage, whatever that looks like. They're ready to take a chance once again, or they're in a place of they bring a lot more wisdom to the table than they had the last time around, and that it's almost like the time is now for the marriage that is supposed to last, the relationship that is supposed to last, the person that is for them because they've been through some things, or they've gone through some growth and evolution. Now they're in a place of proper alignment to be able to meet someone on that kind of resonant frequency, to build something that matches up with kind of this cultivation of like almost like a deep sense of personal satisfaction that they're at right now. This is the vibration that they needed to reach in order to be able to access like a higher paradigm of love. And there's a part of them that's very much like aware of that, and sort of retreating into themselves in order to kind of listen for that call that tells them what direction to move in next. What's the next step to take in order to kind of meet that opportunity for love halfway, or more than halfway. So let's see what they want you to know from their higher self. There is a temple in my heart that has been built in your honor. It is an ancient place, and I suspect I brought the blueprints for it with me into this life from the high heavenly realm. Love was just a word until your voice first echoed throughout my whole being, and a vibrant feeling was born that has only become more elaborate and fascinating with time. The essence of your beauty is immeasurable, and to have you look upon me with such love and acceptance radiating throughout your whole aura is nothing short of a holy experience. I was designed to love you. I include amongst my greatest strengths the ways in which you have helped love to flow so effortlessly through everything that I do. Because since you have become a part of my world, I see so many changes for the better that are the result of your sweet signature intermingling with mine. I don't believe that I have fallen in love with you. I believe that I am simply blessed enough to keep remembering each and every day that I have always been in love with you, since before I was born and since before the dawn of time, it would seem. Everything about you delights me, and I never tire of watching you paint the landscape of your life with the wonderful contradictions that make you authentically you. You are my best friend and my sacred partner. Thank you for the gift of your joy in my life. So let's see what else your future spouse wants you to know right now. Okay, and they say you are healing my soul, but it is a work in progress. I find everything about you so pleasurable and irresistible. I am burning with passion for you. I constantly feel you running through my veins. Your beauty cascades over me. Give me more time. I am not good enough for you yet. I have sleepless nights caught between confusion and pain. And am I good enough for you? So these initials can be a first, middle, or last name, or can spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got S, C, D, N, R, E, V, E, L, D, U, Chi, V, B, R, W, J, I, Q, Y, H, P, X, and B. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and assorted channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dreamcatchers, and suncatchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.